She testified that she witnessed Diddy beat Cassie and that he threatened her if she spoke out.
You know, Usher was the one who was with Justin Bieber, that, you know, allegedly handed Justin Bieber off to Diddy.
Usher and Dawn Richard have never shared a spotlight quite like this until now. Week 2 of the trial delivered one of the most unexpected and shocking alliances yet. But what do they know that's got Diddy scrambling for cover? Stay tuned as we uncover the secrets behind their explosive testimony and why this powerful collaboration could be the game changer no one saw coming.
You already mentioned the second witness today, Cassie Ventura's former best friend, Carrie Morgan. What did Carrie have to say?
So let me tell you, Carrie Morgan is crucial, and she came crucial because she comes off as credible. Because one of the first statements that she made is that she came here because she was compelled to testify. She no longer speaks to Cassie Ventura. They stopped talking in 2018 after this incident having to deal with where she was assaulted by Sean Combs, where Sean Combs grabbed her by the neck and also threw a wooden hanger at her, but also that it led to Cassie giving her $30,000 so she wouldn't say anything about that specific incident, and that was the end of their relationship. She also corroborated 2 of the assaults that took place, having to deal with Cassie in terms of her being drugged and as well as her being punched. So she corroborated a lot of the testimony, but she came off as a neutral witness, and the defense wasn't able to break her as they wanted to, but was able to say that, look, it was still a loving relationship.
Usher and Dawn Richard joining forces in this trial feels like 2 parallel worlds suddenly colliding, an alliance no one saw coming. For years, their only common link was Diddy, the man instrumental in launching both of their careers, but also central to some of their deepest professional and personal struggles. Now, as they take the stand together, the question on everyone's mind is, what finally pulled them out of the shadows to speak out against him? This unexpected partnership has shaken not only the courtroom, but also the entire entertainment industry. Headlines, social media, and fan circles are ablaze with speculation, all echoing the same question. Why now? To understand why this moment is so seismic, we need to look back. Usher was once under Diddy's wing during the early, critical stages of his career. Before becoming a global superstar, Usher was a young protege molded under Diddy's mentorship. Those early days were marked by tales of wild parties, unconventional training methods, and behind-the-scenes culture that has long raised eyebrows. While Usher's career soared, he's remained notably tight-lipped about those formative years, until now. His decision to speak out in such a public and potentially damaging way is unprecedented and speaks volumes about the seriousness of this case. Dawn Richard, meanwhile, came into Diddy's orbit during her time with Donny Kane, a group formed under his Bad Boy label. Her experience reflected a different side of Diddy, one defined by intense management, alleged manipulation, and the chaos that followed the group's success. Behind the glamour and record-breaking hits was a volatile environment that eventually tore the group apart. Like Usher, Dawn has remained relatively silent, but her involvement in this trial suggests that her silence was more about timing than lack of substance. Now, she's ready to share her side. Insiders suggest that the prosecution may have helped orchestrate this alliance, understanding the weight it could carry. Usher and Dawn don't just know Diddy. They know 2 vastly different versions of him. Usher can testify to the early, glamorous rise and the personal influence Diddy held over young artists. Dawn, on the other hand, has insight into the inner workings of his business empire and the alleged toxicity behind the scenes. Together, they paint a multidimensional portrait that could prove devastating to the defense. Let's not forget the long-standing rumors that have trailed Diddy for decades, from murky business dealings and questionable contracts to stories about infamous parties. These have mostly remained in the realm of speculation until now. Usher's perspective could add credibility to those stories, especially if he recounts behaviors he personally witnessed. Dawn's testimony, rooted in her direct professional experiences, could reinforce a consistent pattern of misconduct, making it much harder for the defense to dismiss these claims as isolated incidents. So, why are they speaking out now? Timing is everything. The cultural shift toward accountability in the entertainment industry has empowered more artists to share their truths without fear of isolation or backlash. Movements pushing for transparency and justice have made it clear silence is no longer the only safe option. Usher and Dawn might finally feel support enough to step forward and reclaim control of their narratives. Their alliance isn't just a surprising twist. It's a potentially game-changing development. Usher brings with him the weight of credibility and fame, while Dawn contributes deeply personal experiences within Diddy's business machine. Combined, their testimonies are filling the blanks of a timeline that's been shrouded in rumor and mystery for years. Legal experts are already calling this pairing a potential turning point. If their stories align and establish a pattern of manipulation, exploitation, or misconduct, it will be hard for even the most seasoned legal team to dismantle their claims in front of a jury. And with Dawn reportedly planning to expose systemic issues within the industry, not just Diddy's alleged actions, this case could ripple far beyond one man's legacy. For Diddy, the stakes couldn't be higher. What began as a high-profile trial has now become a moment of reckoning, one where the convergence of two powerful voices could finally bring the truth to light. And if what's being whispered about Dawn's upcoming testimony holds true, the biggest shockwaves may still be ahead.
You know, Usher was the one who was with Justin Bieber and, you know, allegedly handed Justin Bieber off to Diddy. I believe we're starting to hit that corner now where a lot of names are going to start coming out. And when I've talked about in previous videos about a lot of people being quiet, I'm wondering if they don't want to say nothing. I wonder how many people are being subpoenaed. You know, how many people are going to testify? I don't know. But his name has been brought up. Let me just ask y'all this. If you guys were in this situation, and let's just say you were Usher, and you saw Diddy do that to Cassie, what would you do? I just want to know, what would y'all do? Y'all can comment below. Would you intervene? Or if you didn't intervene, would you be like, you know what? I can't be around this dude no more. So, you know, Dawn, she filed a lawsuit against Diddy in 2024, alleging the music mogul did stuff to her, ethically and verbally. Yeah, she also says she witnessed what he did to Cassie with the eggs. We know all this stuff, and how he said people careers will be ended if they try to talk and all that. So Dawn, the Diddy Kane member who was you know, accusing Diddy of what he did, says she witnessed him allegedly do things to Cassie, his ex-girlfriend, while other celebrities, including Usher, were present. Dawn appeared in court Friday, May 16th. She took the seat again on Monday, alleging Combs did things to Ventura at a restaurant in 2010. So again, if that happened in 2010, I'm just wondering how many times since have Usher and Diddy been hanging out and chilling with each other.
Dawn Richard's decision to testify has sent shockwaves through the courtroom and far beyond it. As a former member of Diddy Kane, a girl group born out of Diddy's Making the Band reality show, Dawn wasn't just an employee of Bad Boy Records. She was fully immersed in the ecosystem Diddy created and controlled. Now, with the trial underway, her long silent voice is poised to unravel a narrative that could pierce the very core of Diddy's empire. For years, the public only saw the glossy version of Diddy Kane's rise. Chart-topping hits, TV drama, and high-stakes performances. But behind the scenes, stories whispered among insiders painted a very different picture. One of alleged emotional manipulation, extreme pressure, and a toxic work environment. Dawn, for the most part, kept her distance from these conversations. Until now. Sources close to the trial suggest her testimony won't just hint at wrongdoing. It may expose systematic manipulation within Bad Boy structure. It's not just about one artist's experience. It's about a culture allegedly built on control. Legal insiders claim she may offer hard evidence or detailed accounts that point to a pattern of exploitation, especially related to artist contracts and Diddy's personal control over his signees' careers and images. During Donnie Kane's heyday in the mid-2000s, everything looked pristine on camera, but off camera, there were reports of breakdowns, infighting, and pressure so intense it left permanent scars. Many of those issues were tied back to how the group was managed. Dawn's testimony may finally lift the curtain on what really happened during that chaotic rise, and who was pulling the strings. What makes her appearance in court so potent is the emotional and professional burden she's carried. Over the years, she's hinted at the toll it took. The group's collapse, the backlash, and the isolation that followed. This trial gives her the chance to reclaim her voice and rewrite the narrative, not just for herself, but for every artist who felt trapped under similar conditions. And the implications are enormous. Diddy has spent decades building a persona as the ultimate hip-hop mogul, a blend of businessman, mentor, and party king. But Dawn's perspective threatens to dismantle that image from the inside. She was part of his empire during its golden age. If she provides clear examples of controlling or exploitive behavior, it doesn't just damage his legacy. It suggests the rot was systemic, not incidental. There's even talk that she'll describe psychological tactics allegedly used to keep the group divided and dependent, like pitting members against each other to maintain control. If that proves true, it paints a chilling picture of manipulation not just as a tool of business, but as a governing principle of Diddy's leadership style. And her timing? It's strategic. The cultural landscape has shifted. Today, silence is no longer survival. It can be complicity. With more artists speaking out, Dawn's testimony could be the match that lights a fire across the industry, encouraging others who suffered in silence to come forward. Her alliance with Usher is what makes this moment truly historic. Usher's possible testimony complements hers perfectly, while Dawn delves into the structural and emotional manipulation within the music business. Usher could provide a glimpse into Diddy's private life during a critical period in his early career. It's a 1-2 punch, one attacking the machinery of the empire, the other exposing the man behind it. And now, all eyes are on Usher. While he's remained publicly silent for years about his time under Diddy's mentorship, rumors have always lingered. If he chooses to speak with the same candor as Dawn, his revelations could cut even deeper. Dawn's testimony lays the groundwork, but Usher's could be the spark that turns suspicion into undeniable truth. Together, they're not just building a case. They're reshaping the story of Diddy's legacy, one testimony at a time. And if what's being whispered about Usher's upcoming statements holds true, this trial is far from reaching its most explosive chapter.
However, I wouldn't be surprised if there is conversation about trauma and the effects on the brain as we go through this trial. That may be something that they address then. But for now, this is where we are with Dawn. And it continued. There were a few other criticisms of her that Dawn confirmed that she was asked to, she asked Diddy to sign her as a solo artist in 2011, which would have been at the end of her time with Diddy Dirty Money, and Diddy denied her. She also said she was asked to work with Combs that she asked to work with Combs as recently as 2020 or 2021. So it's interesting that it's like she didn't want to work with him, but she was willing and asking to go back. And she does explain that in a little bit more detail as we keep going. So the defense asked Dawn to admit that she filed the lawsuit, her civil lawsuit against Combs, to get a lot of money. And Dawn said no, but she wants to be compensated for the work that she put forth. Can't argue that.
No.
So the redirect then happened, and Dawn explained why her accounts over time may have missed some details. She said, every day it gets easier to remember certain things. I try my best to do it to the best of my ability. She also explained that when she reached out to Diddy after leaving Bad Boy, it was to rekindle a relationship with choreographer Lorianne Gibson, who Dawn said had advised her to reach out to Combs first. And as for Dawn reaching out to Combs to reunite Diddy Dirty Money, she said she did so to help a friend, which was the former bandmate Kalena Harper, who Richard suggested was having a hard time.
Usher's testimony in the Diddy trial. A game changer in the music industry, scandal Usher's involvement in the Diddy trial has emerged as one of the most shocking and talked about twists in this high-profile case. What makes his testimony so powerful isn't just his stature in the music industry. It's the deeply personal history he shares with Diddy, Back in the 1990s, when Usher was still a teenager trying to find his footing in the industry, Diddy took him under his wing. But this mentorship extended far beyond music. Diddy introduced Usher to a world filled with late-night clubs, A-list parties, and a level of chaos behind the scenes that most newcomers could never imagine. It was a lifestyle that was both glamorous and dangerously unfiltered. For years, there have been rumors about what Usher may have seen during those formative years. Now, his testimony is finally shining a light on what has long been whispered behind closed doors. Behind the velvet rope, Diddy's infamous parties have been a subject of speculation for decades. These weren't your typical industry gatherings. They were described by insiders as no-holds-barred events, full of excess and secrets. Usher, allegedly present at many of them, brings first-hand insight into that world, insight that could prove explosive in court. Legal experts believe the prosecution is counting on Usher to help expose a darker, more disturbing side of Diddy, one hidden behind the polished image of a music mogul. With Usher's respected name attached to the case, the prosecution hopes to turn rumors into credible evidence. The weight of credibility, what makes Usher such a vital witness, isn't just his connection to Diddy, it's how the public perceives him. For nearly 3 decades, Usher has stayed relevant in an industry where longevity is rare. Despite a few personal controversies, his image has remained largely intact. He's seen as successful, relatable, and above all, trustworthy. When someone with Usher's reputation takes the stand, the courtroom listens. Jurors won't just hear another accusation. They'll hear from a global icon. That kind of credibility can be hard for any defense team to undermine. A two-pronged attack. Usher and Dawn Richard Usher's testimony is also expected to complement that of Dawn Richard, another former collaborator of Diddy. While Dawn may focus on Diddy's business dealings and professional misconduct, Usher brings a different dimension, his view from inside Diddy's personal life and social scene. Together, their accounts offer a comprehensive view of both the public and private workings of Diddy's empire. This one-two punch of testimony makes it much harder for the defense to argue that these are isolated, baseless claims. Instead, it begins to look like a pattern of behavior, one the jury can't ignore. The power of breaking silence, one of the most compelling elements of Usher's testimony, is the fact that he has stayed silent for so long. Despite years of public speculation, interviews, and social media chatter, Usher never spoke in detail about his time with Diddy, until now. Why speak up at this moment? Some believe the timing is strategic. With the legal system now involved, Usher may feel safer and more protected to tell the truth without fear of backlash. Others speculate it's personal. Perhaps the details of the case hit too close to home, forcing him to confront what he had long buried, a potential ripple effect. What Usher reveals could have devastating consequences for Diddy, not just in this trial, but for his legacy. If Usher confirms long-standing rumors or shares previously unknown details, it could dramatically shift public opinion. And more importantly, Usher's bravery can inspire others to come forward. In an industry where silence is often the norm, someone of his stature speaking out may encourage others, witnesses, victims, former collaborators, to break their silence too. That kind of momentum can be difficult, if not impossible, for a defense team to control. Relatability and impact. Usher's influence extends beyond his celebrity status. He's built a career on being relatable, someone fans feel they know. If his testimony paints him as a young, impressionable artist who was caught up in a toxic environment, it could strike a powerful chord with the jury. People see Usher as a polished performer, but if he shares his vulnerability, how that lifestyle affected him, what he regrets, and what he endured, it could become one of the most impactful moments in the courtroom, a larger industry reckoning. Usher's revelations don't just reflect on Diddy, they raise broader questions about the music industry as a whole. If someone as prominent as Usher suggests there were serious problems, what does that mean for the many others who didn't have his platform or protection? It challenges us to rethink the power dynamics that shaped the industry in the 90s and early 2000s, when Diddy's influence was at its peak. How many stories went unheard? How many voices were silenced? Diddy's defense feels the pressure as Usher's testimony unfolds. Reports suggest that Diddy's legal team is feeling the pressure. Behind the scenes, sources say panic is growing. Each revelation tightens the spotlight on Diddy's past and weakens the foundation of his defense that Usher's involvement has raised the stakes like never before. He doesn't need this trial to stay relevant. He's already a legend. That makes his choice to testify all the more impactful. The defense can try to cast doubt on other witnesses, but discrediting someone like Usher, that's a much deeper challenge. What comes next? The trial is far from over, and Usher's voice may just be the beginning. If his words inspire others to come forward, especially other big names who witnessed similar experiences, it could open the floodgates. And if that happens, this case won't just be a turning point for Diddy. It could spark a long overdue reckoning across the music industry.
Now, and I'm sure we're going to hear more about her too as time goes on.
Yeah, well, Emily, I was watching her stories today, and she brought this up. I don't know if you saw this, but yeah. Kalina had made a public statement in September 2024, basically denying all of Dawn's sort of stuff and lawsuits, saying it wasn't true, and put this all out there. I acknowledged which my name was mentioned 33 times, led off in the stories post. While I fully respect Dawn's right to recount her experience, I want to emphasize her account reflects her personal perspective and should not be interpreted as a universal truth applicable to everyone involved. So she denied claims that she made, but then what was interesting, as the Fed stepped in, Kim, filings from the Feds showed that it seems Kalina's statement was just a PR stunt orchestrated and funded by Diddy. Outlet reports that Combs contacted Harper, increased the days between Dawn's lawsuit and Kalina making her statements. Officials stated that Harper and Combs allegedly made 128 calls during this period. The authorities claim that between the note found in Diddy's cell and the phone calls to Harper, they believe Sean Combs paid Kalina for her public statement to discredit Dawn Richard, which is insane, but not surprising at all, right, Kim?
Yep, and it actually goes deeper than that. I actually just sent you a quick link just to a Vibe article just to confirm its existence. Kalina did a really uncomfortable interview last year. It was long, and there was she said a lot of not nice things about people involved in the situation. I found she was very almost infantilizing when it came to Cassie at points. And I remember there being a lot of dialogue at that time of like, oh, someone got paid. Someone got paid to sit down and do this. I can't say that as a fact, but it is very interesting to hear the two perspectives. I did not find her to be very credible. I was nowhere near the only one who felt that way.
Diddy's defense is cracking. Usher and Dawn Richard's testimonies change everything. It's starting to look like Diddy's defense is unraveling fast. When this trial first began, there was an air of confidence surrounding Diddy. After all, he spent decades mastering public image, navigating scandals, and weathering controversy with little more than a dent to his reputation. But as week 2 unfolds, reports from inside the courtroom paint a very different picture. Behind the scenes, sources say panic is setting in, and who could blame them? The unexpected alliance between Usher and Dawn Richard has blindsided Diddy's legal team, leaving them scrambling to respond to two of the most credible and damaging testimonies they've faced so far. What once seemed like a manageable legal battle is now spiraling into something far more dangerous. A coordinated attack on the foundations of Diddy's empire. Cracks in the armor from the beginning. There was buzz surrounding this trial, but the energy now is different. The combined weight of Usher's credibility and Dawn Richard's insider knowledge has shifted the momentum dramatically and unexpectedly. For years, Diddy has danced through scandals, whispers of wild parties, questionable business deals, and unbalanced power dynamics. He always emerged largely unscathed. But this time feels different. The stakes are higher, the accusations sharper, and now, the alliance between two respective figures is painting a detailed picture of life behind the curtain. One Diddy's team seems woefully unprepared to dispute. A perfectly timed partnership. What's particularly damaging is how complementary Usher and Dawn's stories are. Their accounts don't overlap too much, which makes them even more difficult to dismiss as part of conspiracy or revenge plot. That Usher's testimony zooms in on the personal, what he experienced, what he saw as a young artist under Diddy's mentorship. Dawn, on the other hand, focuses on the structural side, how Diddy ran his business, the toxic environment she allegedly witnessed, and how power was leveraged behind the scenes. Together, they form a timeline that spans decades. And more importantly, they connect the dots. Diddy's legal team appears unprepared to challenge. The media storm fueling this fire is the media coverage. Headlines have been relentless. Terms like game changer and bombshell alliance are dominating the news cycle. Images of Diddy arriving to court are placed side by side with clips of Usher's calm, composed testimony and Dawn's unshakable demeanor. Social media, meanwhile, is doing what it does best, digging up receipts. Fans and critics alike are resurfacing old interviews, analyzing footage, and re-examining moments from Diddy's past through a new lens. In the court of public opinion, the tide is turning. Fast, a new kind of trial. This isn't like Diddy's past brushes with legal trouble. Back in the early 2000s, he escaped a high-profile case with his charm, resources, and a carefully controlled narrative. He leaned into his bad boy persona and shifted the spotlight whenever things got too intense. But now, those same traits are being used against him. That larger-than-life image, the one that helped him rise to the top, is now under a microscope. His power, once his greatest asset, is being questioned at every turn. And the precision of Usher and Dawn's testimonies is making it harder and harder for his team to regain control. A defense on the defensive legal analysts observing the case say Diddy's team severely underestimated the impact of these two witnesses. They may have been prepared to counter one or two isolated allegations, but not a coordinated story told from two very different angles, both aligning in tone and detail to end the courtroom. Sources say Diddy's attorneys attempted classic tactics. Question motivations, imply hidden agendas, try to rattle the witnesses. But it didn't work. Usher, in particular, remained calm and deliberate. Every answer felt measured. Every word carried weight. And when it came down to credibility, do you trust a man who's maintained a respected career for decades or defense built on poking holes without providing answers? The jury seemed to lean toward the former. The bigger picture Usher and Dawn's alliance hasn't just complicated Diddy's legal defense. It's created a massive opening for the prosecution. Their testimonies have laid a foundation, one that prosecutors are now using to dig deeper into Diddy's character, his actions, and the long-standing culture surrounding his business dealings. Every time the defense tries to change the subject, it circles right back to the same question. How do you explain the consistency and credibility of these allegations without confronting the bigger picture? Diddy's legal concerns may not be limited to what's already on record. Insiders say his team is preparing for the possibility that more witnesses could come forward. The trial has ripped the lid off an era of music industry secrecy, and sometimes all it takes is one high-profile testimony to give others the courage to speak up. A dangerous tipping point for a man with as much influence in history as Diddy. That's a terrifying thought. The idea that decades of decisions, some buried, some ignored, could now be revisited is a kind of threat no legal team wants to face mid-trial. And with Usher and Dawn already doing serious damage, the possibility of a third or fourth voice stepping forward could be catastrophic. What's becoming increasingly clear is this. Their alliance didn't just shake up the courtroom. It altered the entire trajectory of the trial. Diddy's once solid defense is now riddled with cracks. His team is scrambling to contain a narrative they no longer control. And the question is no longer if his strategy will collapse, but when that, because right now, the pressure is real. The panic inside his camp is growing. And outside the courtroom, the world is watching and waiting to see who might speak up next.
The alleged incident took place in a room at the restaurant where Combs and Ventura were arguing quietly. Oh, that's like, those be the ones when he's like that aggressive whisper argue. I told you, you know what I mean? Oh, yeah. When he in the stomach, she immediately bent over. Combs told her to leave. Dawn testified. No one intervened. Among those allegedly present at the dinner were Usher, Neo, and Jimmy Levine, and other celebrities that Richard could not recall on the witness stand. People have reached out to Usher's team for comments. So, let me see. After they left the restaurant, Dawn was in the car with the couple when Ventura said she was embarrassed and told Combs he shouldn't have acted in that manner in public. He grabbed her and I can't even say what he did, all these things he did to her. He would tell her he owed her. Richard added, Richard added, I told her he should leave. Cass looked torn. She would listen, but I could see the fear. Man.
Could Diddy's trial change Hollywood forever? When someone as powerful and well-known as Sean Diddy Combs ends up in court, the impact rarely stays inside the courtroom. This is one of those trials that threatens to ripple far beyond a legal verdict, into Hollywood, the music industry, and the culture of celebrity itself. Right now, people aren't just asking, will Diddy be held accountable? They're asking something bigger. If these allegations stick, what does it say about the system that enabled him for so long? The face of power for decades, Diddy has been a defining figure in hip-hop and entertainment. His influence extends beyond music, into fashion, television, nightlife, and billion-dollar business ventures. He's a cultural architect, but it's that same towering influence that's now under fire. The kind of power that protects icons is being questioned. And if Usher and Dawn Richards' combined testimonies land a serious blow, it could shatter the illusion of invincibility that so many industry moguls rely on. Because while this case is about Diddy, the real story may be about the entertainment industry's long history of shielding the powerful, the domino effect if Diddy's defense continues to unravel. One of the first consequences we'll likely see is others coming forward. Witnesses, former employees, or even victims. History tells us how this plays out. After Harvey Weinstein's trial, the floodgates opened. What began as a few women speaking out became a cultural reckoning. And now, with two respected voices like Usher and Dawn Richard testifying under oath, the same chain reaction feels possible. Celebrity accountability in the spotlight, but this isn't just about legal outcomes. It's about culture in a world where fans have unprecedented access to their favorite celebrities. The line between public persona and private behavior has never felt thinner. Fans aren't looking away anymore. They want accountability. They want answers. And they're no longer separating the art from the artist. If someone as iconic and powerful as Diddy faces consequences, real, legal, reputational fallout, what message will that send? Could it mark the beginning of a new era where even the most powerful are no longer untouchable, exposing the power structure of the music industry? In particular, has the most to lose. For years, it has operated through an entrenched hierarchy where few gatekeepers decide who rises and who falls. New artists often enter the game without leverage, relying on moguls like Diddy to shape their future. But when those same moguls allegedly abuse that power, the system protects them. Now, Usher and Dawn are revealing what may be the dark side of Diddy's empire. The manipulation, the fear, the exploitation masked by success. If their testimonies gain traction, they could expose decades of questionable practices once considered industry standard. We've seen it before, how Britney Spears' conservatorship battle didn't just free her, but sparked widespread criticism of how female artists are controlled, commodified, and silenced. Could this trial spark a similar reckoning? A blueprint for the future? The Usher-Dawn alliance is something rare and powerful. Two figures from very different parts of Diddy's world have joined forces to share a coherent, consistent narrative. If this strategy works in court, and right now, it's causing serious disruption. Don't be surprised if it becomes a new blueprint. Future lawsuits may see insiders teaming up to strengthen claims. The fear of standing alone against a powerhouse like Diddy may finally be outweighed by the strength in numbers. We may be entering a new chapter in legal and cultural battles, one where unity becomes a weapon against the shield of celebrity status. Diddy's legacy in jeopardy for Diddy. Everything is on the line. His legacy, his empire, his reputation. Even if he avoids conviction, the fallout could be devastating. Will fans and business partners continue to separate the mogul from the mounting accusations? Or will this moment mark the end of his untouchable status? This isn't just about one man. It's about the message that gets sent to an entire industry. What happens if more voices come forward? What if this trial sets off an avalanche of testimonies, each pointing to the same systemic issues that have long gone ignored? A cultural turning point, the outcome of this trial could reshape how power is perceived, challenged, and ultimately dismantled in Hollywood and beyond. Producers, executives, and managers might find themselves under new scrutiny. Contracts may be challenged. Artist protections could be rewritten. Because beneath the celebrity headlines and legal drama lies a deeper question. Can the entertainment industry finally confront the structures that allowed moguls like Diddy to operate unchecked for so long? As this case unfolds, it may not just be about whether Diddy is guilty or innocent. IT could be the start of a new reality where the old rules of silence and power no longer apply, where even the most influential names aren't immune to accountability, and where the entertainment industry is forced to reckon with the truth, no matter how uncomfortable it is. What do you think? Is this trial the beginning of something bigger? Could this be a turning point for celebrity accountability? Let us know in the comments. And if you're as hooked on this case as we are, subscribe and stay tuned. We'll keep bringing you the latest as this story takes more unexpected turns.